Ready, set, showtime.
Trapped like a fire in my bones. Make my So yeah, the game just totally glitched out at the end. Not just lag. Now I can't use my. I've seen this stupid bug before. Now I can't use my shield, and it's not because I got hit with a stupid EMP. It's because the game just hates skill builds so much that the straight up glitches will deny you your skills constantly in the game. By the way, I actually tried. I mean, it's probably because I suck at. Just need to figure out a good DPS build. I actually tried to make a Strikers build, and I used Memento backpack, 4-piece Striker set with the the armor plate for another buff to the Striker buff, a red and then a high-end yellow with red core, and crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and all of them with the Pestilence LMG. It wasn't maxed out. It definitely could have been improved more. But the point is like the difference between, you would think its DPS for guns versus this guy's DPS should be miles apart, and I was actually thoroughly disappointed. Like, in my view, I could tell I was way more frail than this guy. There's no way I could solo a control point the same way this guy does. I don't even think I could ever solo a control point on a DPS build, because I just can't. I mean, I'm sure there's some players who can because they're way better and they're used to playing those ones, and they're way better at probably dodging and vaulting and using cover and all that, and I'm like, nope, that's not me. You get hit once or twice and you're dead. Even with 900, you'd think with almost 1 million armor you'd still be good, but no, actually. But that shows this build, like, it's not just the armor rating, because I say 1 million armor because this guy only has just over 2 million right now. Which, yeah, is a lot more than 1 million, but still, it's like, it's double the amount, but I am way more than double the tankiness, is my point. Like, when I switched to that build, who still had, like, about 1 million armor with one armor core on the Memento backpack, he still was dying almost instantly compared to this guy. Like, he could not be out in the open, period, for the most part, if he was being targeted. Anyway, but I did that build under the assumption that, yeah, I'd be a lot more frail, which I was, but that my DPS would be way more, not just simply substantially more. Like, it was enough that I could notice a difference. I was killing enemies noticeably faster, but that's the most I could say. In my view, you should just blink and they're dead. But it was still taking time to kill things, and I'm like, dude, honestly, I kill things faster on this guy because I don't have to be behind cover as much. And my damage still doesn't seem as terrible compared to that straight DPS build. But anyway, the last thing I want to say, which is the real point of the video, was to say the last change I made was I got rid of Frenzy on my LMG you saw in the last video, and slapped on Preservation for more tankiness through it. My pistol, I didn't want to put that on because I like skill repair on my pistol, because the pistol allows me to repair my shield, which is the point of using the pistol. But it also has the skill tier buff on it, which boosts my drone healing. So whenever I switch to my pistol, I actually get slightly more armor regen, and then I also get shield regen, more shield regen if I hit heads, which is usually not too difficult, at least, because I just have to hit the head once. So usually I just generally aim for the head, and then I switch to body shots because I suck at aiming anyway, so I'm just trying to get hits for damage. But I'll still occasionally get a headshot just to keep the skill repair going. That's mostly only on legendary difficulty, though. As you saw in my last video, soloing legendary. I tried to do that in this one, but for some reason it wasn't letting me. I went to Manning Zoo because it's still considered the weekly legendary mission, but it wasn't letting me switch to legendary difficulties. I don't know what was going on there. But anyway, let me finish up here now that the video's gone to black. So yeah, I switched to Preservation talent on my LMG because Frenzy's the only talent I've used that I can tell and test out actually gives this build, at least, actually gives this build a decent damage increase, a noticeable damage increase. The problem with it is that it's so inconsistent. Like, I wish it wasn't, because it's definitely helps when I can use it. I think it's cool. I love the faster fire rate sound, and like, oh man, it sounds awesome when you're using it too. But it's like, even with the buff they did to it, was now that lasts 9 seconds. It's like, the point is, when you activate it, you have to make sure you're hitting guys, otherwise it goes away, and then you have to unload your mag all over again to get that buff again, which can be annoying if you don't hit your targets because maybe you're forced behind cover again. That's the thing, maybe I am even on a tank build. If I'm taking too much damage, I gotta switch to something else, so switch to my shield or switch to cover or start dodging, and then I can't even use the frenzy all the time. And then if I'm in a team, then I have a whole host of other issues. The teammates kill the enemies I was trying to attack with frenzy, and then I lose my frenzy that way. It's so inconsistent that I just determined that this isn't worth it, honestly. I just determined there is no talent that's going to help my DPS for this build. Just like I did with my pistol, my LMG should just have something focused on the build anyway, which is tanking. So I added preservation. I tested it out to make sure it does work, because for some reason it doesn't give you the icon when it activates, but I took it on a build on like normal difficulty and took off all armor regen to make sure I wasn't having any regen at all, and confirmed that when I was getting kills it was healing me, and a decent amount too. It's not a large amount, but it's not a tiny amount either. It's a noticeable amount more for a few seconds, which is actually a pretty long time if you think about it in a game like this. So it also encourages me to like switch to my LMG to finish people off sometimes if I am shooting in the open without my shield. Then I can do that, and it kind of, in a sense, it even helps my DPS, I've noticed, because sometimes I might be taking so much damage, but as I'm killing guys with my LMG, then I heal from that, which allows me to stay with my LMG rather than because my LMG still does more damage overall, like long term. It does more damage than my pistol. I would say long term it does more damage than my shotgun, but my shotgun, I say, actually still does the most damage, just as like a straight up burst weapon, but it has such a long reload that's why I would say the LMG is better overall for just overall DPS when I want to do something, and I just want to use an LMG because they're cool in my view. That's also why I'm using this LMG rather than the GR9, because the GR9, has a 200 round clip, which is nice. I tried to use it with the steady buff people said to get infinite ammo, and I couldn't get that to work. Once again, it was clear I could get it to work on some enemies, but once again, it was the same with Frenzy. Like, stuff happens in battles. When you're solo and all the enemies are targeting you, all sorts of stuff is happening to you. And then when you're in a team, your teammates are taking kills from you and doing all sorts of things that can interfere with that too. So there's a no-win scenario for builds like that, in my view. Like, it's always inconsistent. You never know if it's gonna help you or not. And I hate that. I want consistency, and preservation is consistency. It's not as much as I like leech healing, like from Outriders, where just shooting the enemy gives me health regen. But fine, I'll take killing the enemy at least. That is at least something, whether I'm soloing or even in teams, that will at least happen fairly regularly when I'm using the gun. And yeah, it actually can help with the DPS in a sense, because if I'm killing enemies, sometimes I notice that thing stacks too. So if I kill like 2 low health enemies, I'll get like multiple repairs going from that. That really keeps with stacks with all my other repairs. So I actually can just stay fully out in the open and no shield and still keep going constantly because of that alone. So I can tell it was a good thing to add on this build. And now I'm still at the point where it's like there's maybe final tweaks here and there, but the most important thing now is to just level up expertise and then get maxed out attributes. I have no idea where to go get a 13% protection from elite attribute versus my 12 right now. I have a feeling it's only through legendary missions, which, oh man, I hate. I mean, you saw me solo legendary, right? I still hate it. Like, it's not a fun difficulty in my view. You have at that point, it's like, I can solo the first few levels, and if I were to not rage quit and just stomach through it and, quote, get good, as those players say, I know this build could finish an entire mission. It would just be a lot of pain and effort, and I'd hate it. Which is why I'm not going to do it. And the reward would not be worth it. Which is, of course, that's why you want to do them in teams, which I've done them before, too. The thing is, even with teams, it's like a 50-50 if we're going to beat it or not. Because a lot of teammates will die. This is, again, like, I've noticed my tank build actually is very useful, because I've teamed up with people on, like, striker DPS builds constantly, and they're always going down. And, I mean, I go down, too, because it's a lot of damage on legendary. But, I mean, obviously not as much as them, which you would say, I know you're saying, well, that's the whole point of the build, right? yes, the problem is when they're going down constantly, that's why we kept losing, because, because they be grouped together, trying to help each other, but then they're also frail, that when one good Chungus or elite gets the hold of them, or a bombing drone dude gets on, then they die. What I really want to do I'm about done with this video now. What I really want to test out, maybe in a future video, is like, if I'm able to find guys with similar tank builds, like just variations of just straight tank builds, and actually go into Legendary on just an all tank build team, and see, because I'm willing to bet a team of all four of my guys could actually do it fairly easily and regularly, if you think about it. Like, if you have a team of all four tanks who are all four sporting sweet dreams, that means all four of us are able to tank enough to run around in the open, kill off all the reds and purples pretty easily without DPS because of the shotgun, and then we just combine our forces to kill all the elites with our DPS, and all of us are able to tank more hits. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I kind of want to see how it would go. I know I'm biased because I prefer being a tank over a DPS, but I'm beginning to think, even in this game, that maybe a team of all tanks would actually make Legendary missions easier than DPS builds. Now, I know for like raids and the Incur, whatever that called, Paradise Lost, there's certain things that are just straight stupid DPS checks that just say no to tank builds because bullcrap reasons, of course, because the enemy just either instant kills you, or there's a timer, and if you don't kill the enemy in time, then then you lose anyway. So yeah, in those situations, DPS is required. I just mean in Legendary missions that I join all the time, it doesn't matter if I'm joining with good DPS builds, according to most people that I've watched that have them, because they're dying constantly, and then we still end up losing, because, or I carry as far as I can until I inevitably, like I said, I'll still die eventually on the hardest parts of those missions when there's just so much crap going around and I'm the sole focus of the attention. But again, I'm confident I could probably solo a whole mission. It would just be a lot of, again, pain, effort, dodging, but I think this guy could do it. But, well, especially when he's maxed out. Like I said, expertise is the main thing now. Getting, 30% armor buffs on all my armor. Getting the last bit of weapon damage buffs, like 30% weapon damage from expertise on my chosen weapons, which will at least increase my DPS just a little bit, so I can still be killing things. At least being able to kill things on that difficulty. But as you can see, even on Heroic, like this mission, there's not all control points are equal, I can tell. Some control points, especially when you're not calling for backup in the beginning, which I like to do as a challenge. Some like this one you just saw in this video are way harder than others. Like, even on Heroic, I still encounter difficulties sometimes. But most of the time now it's really easy. But once this guy's expertise is complete, like he has an maxed out armor, weapon damage, attributes, and SHD, I keep forgetting about SHD too, which will help too with explosive resist, hazard protection, all that other stuff stacked as well on it. Once all that combined is on this build, then I know even this control point and the hardest parts of Heroic will probably feel easy at that point too. And then Legendary, then I might actually finally do a video trying to solo the entire Legendary mission at that point, because I feel like I probably could. It's just dying once and having to start the whole thing over though, because I don't have the stamina for that. I got a life, I got a job. It's not worth the time most of the time. It's definitely not worth the loot to go through all that and die constantly to eventually beat it, because you have to start the whole crap over again. If it was checkpoint, like I would be doing a video soloing Legendary now if they let you have checkpoints, but since they don't, it's like I already know it's going to take me forever, because you're going to die from just random bullcrap anyway. Like, when I was doing those solo Legendary runs, I would die instantly at the beginning, even though I was doing the beginning missions fairly well. Sometimes I would still die in those just instantly from crap. Like, I'll be killing an enemy, and then like 3 different reds that are going to do more damage against me than elites, and they're all bombing drone reds, all hit me at the same time. I've seen that before, and it doesn't matter, you're dead. You can't live it. It doesn't. There's situations that you can't control on Legendary. Anyway, I had to get out of here. I didn't mean to, as usual, for this video to go so long ranting. So, if you stayed this long, kudos to you, because I feel like this is just mostly me talking to myself. But, yep. The most important thing was just showing the build and showing the change to preservation on the LMG versus my previous video you've seen on the solo Legendary mission.